Hi, this is Justin Pineda, and for this session, we'll be discussing Module 1, Ethical Hacking Concepts. So, this module is not an official EC Council course, but it follows the methodology of the Certified Ethical Hacker course. So, if you plan to take the certification exam in the future, these are some of the information that might be useful. So there are two types of exam now. So there's a regular objective multiple choice type of exam, and another is the CH practical exam, which is a lab exercise, lab exam consisting of different practical challenges. So right now, at the moment, the certified ethical hacker is in the version 10 already. When I took it in 2013, it was still in version 7. And some of the recognitions are shown also from their, this is from their website. So these are reputable organizations, both private, non-profit, and government that um, that recognize the value of the certified ethical hacker exam. So again, about the certified ethical hacker exam is currently in version 10, and it focuses on organized and sequential hacking. And for this course, this is the emphasis, this is the focus, the methodology, because there are so many tools out there. So the goal is to be able to determine when uh, when do we use these tools and how do we use these tools. And so it's not just download and run. So there has to be um, organization and methodology. And the third one is that there's a prerequisite if you would like to take the certified ethical hacker exam. So there are two ways for you to meet this prerequisite. Number one is if you will attend a training from an accredited training center, ATC, or if you have 2 years relevant security experience before taking the exam. So so you can either choose one. And during my time in 2013, the we didn't have a budget for the training, so I waited for at least 2 years of relevant security experience, and then I did self-study. I set up my own lab, and I took the exam. And the exam cost 500 US dollars. So it's not very expensive. It's not very cheap. It's in the middle compared to other certifications like GIAC and Cisco. It's in the middle. So there's also an additional 100 US dollars needed if you opt for self-study for eligibility application. So during my time, I paid $500 plus $100 for my eligibility. So they will check your records, they will call your immediate superior, and they will ask some questions to vouch for you. So exam info from EC Council. So number of questions 125. So this is when you're going to take the objective type exam. Test duration is 4 hours. Test format is multiple choice. And it's not the tricky part here is that you need to be able to you should have at least used the tools listed um, in the body of knowledge that you need to master for the certified ethical hacker, because these tools will be included in the exam, and not just the tools, um, how it functions, but the commands, because it will show you like a certain number will show you an outcome of an attack, and then it will ask you what command was used to be able to successfully launch the attack. So you need to be familiar with the tools listed by EC Council. Okay, so yeah, exam prefix 312-50, or yeah, so both are 312-50. So for the domains, so There are 5 domains: so assessment, analysis, 16%, security, 26%, tools, systems, programs, 32%, procedures, methodology, 20%, and regulation, policy, 4%. So if you would notice, a bulk of uh, the percentage of the exam focuses, okay, on tools, systems, and programs. Now, let's go to the question: is there such thing as ethical hacking? This is always the question during, the first session, and how do we answer? So remember that an ethical hacker is an individual who is employed within the organization or who can be trusted to undertake an attempt to penetrate networks and or systems using the same methods and techniques as a hacker. So because there's already a negative connotation when we say hacker, so we put um, the adjective ethical to distinguish ourselves from the bad ones. So it's employed, the person is employed and can be trusted. Later on, we'll dig deeper on some other characteristics, some important characteristics of an ethical hacker. So we discussed this already. So in the early days of hacking, so the earliest hackers were a group of people who were passionate and curious about new technology. Um, they were the smart ones, the good ones who were trying to explore about, thinking outside the box uh, on a program or an application deploy. So aside from the current features, what are the other features that can be enabled, for example? And therefore, they were able to discover a lot of new features from a single application, and they were already called hackers during that time. Okay. However, okay, during the 80s, saw hackers moving to more mischievous and later malicious activities, such as attacks that could now be used against systems because more people had access to computers. So the first generations of browsers became available in the 90s, and attacks grew in the form of website defacement and other types of mischief. And in a way, the silver lining is that opportunities for cybersecurity um, increase, right? So, but during that time, antivirus applications were not popular back then. Okay, and the attacks during the year 2000s going up include DOS or denial of service attacks, manipulation of stock prices, identity theft, vandalism, credit card theft, piracy, and theft of service. A lot of them are still happening right now, right? But more security tools are already in place and more services are offered to secure the organizations from this type of attacks. So some famous hacks over time. So these are very popular types of attacks, and these are usually given in game shows. So Morris Worm in 1988, Melissa virus in 1999, okay, the Anna Kournikova virus in 2001, and then okay, hacking of the phone, hacking of Paris Hilton's phone, okay, in 2005, and then in the year 2000 onwards, so there are two known hacking groups internationally. So the first one is Lulsec, and the other one is Anonymous. They do random hacktivism, um, and some leaks of personal information, um, confidential files to expose wrongdoings of the government, etc. Now, for the generic types of cybercrime, so um, in detail, we'll be discussing this in the information security course, not in the ethical hacking course. But the usual types of cybercrime include stealing passwords, network intrusion, social engineering, okay, posting and or transmitting illegal material, fraud, software piracy, okay, malicious code, embezzlement, data diddling, and denial of service. So these are the types, and each of these has a corresponding penalty. Now let's go back to um, the term ethical hacker. So we said that ethical hackers are employed, okay, and they have contracts. So if you have a contract, there's an agreement of what you will do. So there's a scope of work, okay? So there's a direct employment to test the security of an organization. So additionally, the hacker does not reveal the weaknesses of the system to anyone other than the system owner. So because that is part of the contract. And finally, ethical hackers work under a contract for a company or client, and their contracts specify what is off limits and what they are expected to do. So that is the major difference between um, the bad ones and the ethical ones, because the ethical ones are employed, they are tasked to do specific work, okay, through a contract, and they will abide by the contract. So the time, the duration of the, the security test, all this information are found in the contract, and they will have to abide by it. Okay, so types of attackers. So we have script kiddies. They're the ones who are good in googling stuff. Okay, white hat, these are the good guys. Okay, black hat, these are the bad guys. The gray hat, these are those who are good in the morning and then they do vigilant stuff at night. Okay, so mix, so they can be um, uh, a normal person in the morning and then they do hacking at night. Okay. And then there are also suicide hackers. These are those who, who do not mind if they get caught or arrested. Okay, but suicide, because right now the laws on cybercrime are very specific, very straightforward, and the penalties are harsh. Okay, there's jail time, there is a penalty worth dollars. So those who do not mind them, these penalties are considered suicide hackers. And as an ethical hacker, you should never target a system that you do not own or permission to test. So these are the characteristics. We're talking about the characteristics of the ethical hacker. Okay. So other terms include sanctioned hacking, okay, with permission from the system owner. Okay. So pen testers are also ethical hackers. This is the technical term, or penetration testers. So they penetrate systems like a hacker, but for benign purposes. So yeah. So we've listed the keywords, right? Permission, contract, sanction, scope, and some of the other important terms include hack value, okay, the term that describes the target that may attract an above average level of attention to an attacker. So there's a hack value. TOE, or target of evaluation, it's the system or resource that is being evaluated for vulnerability. So this is part of the scope. Okay. And then you have the attack. It's the act of targeting and actively engaging a target of evaluation. Okay. So you will be seeing these terms often when you engage in penetration testing. Exploit is the way to breach the security of the system. A 0-day describes a threat or vulnerability that is unknown to developers and has not been addressed or discovered. So these are, for example, malware that is not detected by antivirus because it's not yet known. Okay. Security, it's the state of well-being in an environment where only actions that are defined are allowed. Threat is a potential violation of security. Vulnerability is a weakness in a system that can be attacked and used as an entry point into an environment. And we also have daisy chaining. It is the act of performing several hacking attacks in sequence, with each building on or acting on the results of the previous action. So usually you also do daisy chaining later on when you find um, vulnerabilities, and the tools available can be used to exploit this vulnerability. So you have a sequential list or sequential actions that will be done against the target using these tools. So forms of pen testing, we have black box, gray box, and white box. So when we say black box, it's that type of testing where in which the pen tester has little or no knowledge about the target. Okay, gray box is a form of testing where the knowledge given to the testing is limited. Okay. And for white box, a form of testing in which the information given to the tester is complete. So which one would you recommend your customers? Depends on their goal. If the goal is to check um, the security from the outside, you can recommend a black box. Okay. If you would like to exhaust all the possible tests against the target, you can recommend white box. Um, but usually it's not, black box is not exhaustive. So, and sometimes because it's very secured, you might not get any results from the outside. And most of the attacks nowadays involve people from the inside. There's inside job, there is collusion, right, and connivance, right? So it's not easy, or it's not um, conclusive to assume that all attacks will be coming from external. Okay, and we also have CIA Triad. I think in the information security course, these terms have been defined very well. But just for this course, we run it through. So confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So when we say confidentiality, it's safeguarding information and keeping it away from those unauthorized to possess it or not authorized to possess it. Okay. Integrity deals with keeping information in a format that is true and correct to its original purposes. And availability deals with keeping information resources available to those who need to use it. So when you do your um, penetration testing, you try to exploit this confidentiality, integrity, availability. So when you crack a password and you're able to access the account, that is an attack on confidentiality, right? If you launch a denial of service attack, that is an attack on availability. Okay. So is there such thing as ethical hacking? So we discussed this. We have defined this already. So hacker exploits weaknesses in a computer system. However, in some laws, in Philippine laws, hacking is defined as unauthorized access into or interference in a computer system. So by default, they are saying that hacking is bad. Okay. In some references, it's defined as someone with an advanced understanding of computers and networks. Right? So because of these terms used interchangeably, we use the term ethical hacking to differentiate. Okay. So what separates good from bad hackers? So they both exploit weaknesses. Difference is permission. So We keep repeating the slides, okay, because we have to emphasize this. Okay. This is very important that before you go into an engagement with a client, you need to have a non-disclosure agreement. You need to have permission. You have to have a contract. You have to have a scope. And we have to emphasize this every time. Okay? At least for this module because it is very, very important. Okay? So we discussed this, define white hat, black hat, and gray hat. So with this definition, what is the classification of anonymous? So because the targets that anonymous attack are those that have not given them permission to do so, but they will be considered black hat, right? Or some probably gray hat for some of the members who are good in the morning and bad in the evening. So, but not a white hat because they were not given permission to do so. So in this chart, the hacking trend, it will show you that as time progresses, the attack sophistication goes up and the intruder knowledge goes down. Okay, meaning to say that during the 80s, you need to be well versed in coding, in programming, to be able to do password guessing. Okay, but again, as time progresses, that attack sophistication goes up. Okay, to the point that you can do stealth advanced scanning techniques, but your knowledge, you know, somebody who can Google the tools can get these types of tools. So that's the hacking trend. So let's now run through the steps in hacking based on the methodology of Easy Council. So actually, it will depend on the organization that you will use as reference, but they're actually the same. Some of the terms are changed. Right? Like for example, in some organizations, scanning is considered mapping for the other organization, but they refer to the same thing. Um, for example, gaining access would be considered discovery in other organizations, but they refer to the same thing. Okay, um, but to use a methodology, we'll be using or we'll be following the Easy Council's terms. So in the steps in ethical hacking, there are 5 steps. So the first one is reconnaissance, the second one is scanning, the third one is gaining access, the fourth one is maintaining access, and the fifth one is covering tracks. So let's run through each quickly. So when we say reconnaissance, um, in military, it means it's surveying um, your target, right? Checking the environment, etc. So in ethical hacking, it talks about researching about your target, okay? Researching online, offline, okay, but majority online because most of your targets will be active online in social media, in social media, in under emails, etc. So you need to discover a lot of information about the target, but you don't have to be active yet, right? You just have to search information about it. Okay. Some of the tools include Netcraft. It will show you um, information about the domain of your target. Okay, some publicly known information. Okay. What pages are crawled, etc. You can also use archive. So when you use archive, it checks for the history, okay, of the crawled site. And another one is web data extractor. So it extracts information in the website. So it will crawl um, a lot of pages in the website and and get relevant information such as names, emails, phone numbers that you might use in your later stages. And you also use some of the um, job engines or yeah, job engines or search engines for available work, okay, like JobStreet, Monster, because it will show you potential job opportunities of your target. And from there, you will be able to deduce um, the the type of technology that they have. Like for example, if they have an opening for a system admin who and in the qualifications it says there that the person has to be knowledgeable in Windows Server, has to be knowledgeable in Cisco. So you will be able to deduce that they have Windows servers in the organization, that they are using Cisco in their network infrastructure. Right? So that's reconnaissance. And then we have scanning. Okay, so starting from this step, this is active already. Meaning to say you can already go to jail by using the tools available. So when we say scanning, you scan for open opportunities. You do vulnerability scan, you do port scan, you do network scan, and other types of scans to be able to determine what opportunities are open, what services are open, to validate what you found in the reconnaissance stage. Do a vulnerability scan, check which servers are outdated. Okay, and then from there determine um, which servers can be target of attacks using Metasploit and others. So kind of scan. And then the next step would be that this is 3 and 4, gaining and maintaining access. So when you attempt to gain access, you try to, there are different ways. You can do password guessing, right? Okay. And then, or social engineering, if you would like to do social engineering to get the information, and the password, and then check if the privilege that you have gained is sufficient for you to launch the attack or not. So if not, you need to escalate the privilege. And then from there, you can execute malicious codes, right? So that you can remain, you can still access it later on, and then you copy files. So these are the steps: password guessing, escalate the privilege, execute malicious codes, and then copy files. Okay. So that would cover gaining and maintaining access. And last is covering tracks. The reason why I use the Easy Council methodology is they emphasize the need for covering tracks, because you have to at the end of gaining and maintaining access, you need to be able to delete or modify the audit trails, because in law enforcement, the first thing that they will check um, for evidence gathering would be the audit trail. So you need to delete or modify it. Okay. So other parts of the pen test include insider attack, okay, outsider attack, stolen equipment attack, and social engineering attack. So this does not require technical knowledge, but more on connivance from an insider, okay, or from an outsider, and then stealing an actual equipment or hardware, and then doing social engineering. So we'll discuss this further in the next lessons. Okay, so in summary, we have discussed about the certified ethical hacker exam, its coverage, and its methodology. We also discussed about um, the definition of ethical hacking, and who is an ethical hacker. And we discussed the ethical hacking methodology following the EC Council's terms. So we listed down 5. So the first step is reconnaissance, the second step is scanning, the third one is gaining access, the fourth one is maintaining access, and the fifth one is covering tracks. We also discussed different pen testing terms and the hacking trend and other types of attacks that are done alongside the ethical hacking methodology. So thank you very much for watching this presentation. So if you have any questions, you can send me an email or you can drop by your questions in the comment section below. Have a nice day. Bye.